to be able to learn new information. So why don't we go ahead and make ourselves comfortable, and maybe just take a moment just to kind of wiggle anything out of the shoulders and the neck. And so often in learning environments, we often come to it hopefully with an open heart and an open mind. So let's just go ahead and invite that in. Let's just take a moment to settle our shoulders down, maybe notice where our spine is, perhaps allowing the hands to simply rest gently at the knees. We come to learning with a beginner's mind, with that curiosity, with that openness of what is to come. Let's just take a moment to embrace those words, this beginner's mind and being open. Maybe just notice the ajna, the third eye space. See if we can soften that space and kind of setting that as our area, as that area where we learn in that space. So saying, maybe just seeing if we can soften it with this idea of it being a sponge, kind of opening up to possibility, to new things. Let's take our attention just to our breath, and we'll take a few nice big breaths into the belly, the ribs, and the heart. And then exhale from the heart, the ribs to the belly. And let's just continue with this 3-part yogic breath. So breathing to the belly, the ribs, and the heart. And then exhaling from the heart, the ribs to the belly. And I'd like us to take this breath as an opportunity to release the mind. Kind of like every time you breathe in, you're taking that eraser board and just emptying out any thoughts that might be in the mind, any preconceived expectations, and allowing yourself to kind of clean the slate free. Always think of a baby or a young child that comes out into the world and is so curious about what's going on, asking all kinds of questions. Let us embrace that inner curiosity for self exploration, self learning, an openness to self, to be able to allow ourselves to be open to any emotions or feelings that may come around during our workshop today. Maybe none will come around, but maybe there will be. And just see that as an opportunity to learn. If anything starts to arise, maybe there's a thought that's not serving you, let us see if we can turn our attention back to our breath and that sense of curiosity. Maybe seeing yourself as an umbrella that opens up and then protects us from anything that's not serving us, but yet remains open from all different angles. to things that may arise. And it's like we look at it from underneath the umbrella, observe it, maybe take a moment to be curious about the whys and the hows. Looking at these as learning opportunities to help our growth, our self growth, our self confidence, our feelings of inner well being. All these tidbits that are approaching us throughout our day are all opportunities to learn. And now I'd like you to take your palms and open them so that the back of your hands are resting on your thighs. Maybe just noticing the palms. Maybe there's a sense of energy coming from the palms, or perhaps a sense of energy coming into the palms. Maybe we're accepting some energy, opportunity. And when we are open in this way, we really invite this sense of opening to what may be, what may come. Inviting that energy in. That opportunity. Now let us take a moment or two just to soften the face and soften the shoulders. Maybe just take a moment to release the body, relax. We're going to close our practice today, our meditation, with 3 ohms, that universal sound as a symbol that we all are one. The universality of the world, of us as humans, as beings, all life forms. I'm going to turn my mute off when I go into our ohms, but the ohm sound really comes from the belly. So we're going to breathe into the nose and maybe just audibly sound out A-U-M, Aum, and just allow that sound to release from the mouth. And we'll just do 3 ohms back to back. So I'll do the first one and then I'll mute myself for the second 2. So sitting up tall, let us take a deep breath into the belly. Let's take a moment just to sit with that. Bring us our hands to our heart center. Reminding ourselves that we are all one. Namaste. Thank you, lovelies. What a wonderful way to start our practice, our workshop today. We are going to get going in about 30 odd seconds. I'm going to get the workshop started. I'm still waiting for Elisa, and I'm just going to give her a moment or two to check in. I might send her a quick text, make sure she's okay. And then we're going to get started. So make sure you have your water, whatever you need today. And then we'll get started. I'll give her like 15 more seconds and then we'll start. I just sent her a little message. She's probably at the beach or something. Okay, lovelies. Well, thank you for coming early to start our wonderful workshop with this meditation. Hopefully we feel open to learning about new things and about new material that hopefully will help you in your yogic journey, which is really has been such a wonderful transformational journey that we've been on together for the last year. So it's exciting that we've been doing this together. And I'm happy that we could do this particular workshop together as well, because I think it is so essential to our yogic practice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to share my screen. Now, this is really informal. So right now we're three. So if you have any questions throughout the workshop, please feel free to chime in and ask, because I really want this to be a very relaxed way for us to learn today. So there's no real structure. I will have a PowerPoint slide and I will share that slide with you, that PowerPoint presentation with you at the end. Today I'll send it over to you so you can always use it. And I'll also in my email, I'm going to include the title of this particular book, because it was really essential in me building the workshop. Was a lot of the material information that I received, that I learned about, what came from Anodia Judith's Wheels of Life, which is was a pretty impactful book when it was first issued back in, I want to say, the 1960s or 70s. So it's quite an, let me see if I can see the date here. 1987 was the first issue. So this was a really impactful book that I use. And I also have it listed in my references. So if there's information you want to explore further for yourself, it goes through all of the chakras. So I'm going to just begin with sharing my screen. I hope you don't hear my dogs in the background, because they're going crazy upstairs. And I am going to, here we go, play from the start. So the Muladhara chakra, ground into your body, ground into your life, which is what our theme is for today. So I'm going to go through just a quick introduction and talk about what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be discussing a brief history of the chakras. And just as a reminder, it's just really nice to have that as that foundation. And then we're going to move specifically into the Muladhara chakra and kind of delve in really deeper into the Muladhara chakra. And then we're going to close our practice off. First, we're going to begin with another kind of, I want to say, it's going to kind of a mixture between a meditation and a body scan to start our asana practice off. And then we're going to move into some movements today that really help us to build on this idea of grounding, grounding really from a physical sense. So it's really important. And we'll talk about how important that is, the physical part of grounding, to be able to start and build on this idea of the grounding Muladhara chakra. And then we will be done. So probably going to go so quickly. We'll take a little break between the presentation and the asana practice, and then we'll move on from there. The chakra system. I would normally talk a little bit about myself, but you guys know me, so I'm not going to go into too much details about me. But we're going to start right away just with the chakra system. So the chakra system, as you know, there's 7 different chakras and they kind of run along the spine. And I'll talk a little bit more in details about the subtle energy system in a few slides. But the chakra system has really generated a lot of interest amongst yogis because it's a system that helps us, allows us to connect body, mind, and spirit. And the chakras really provide us with a pathway to guide us on this journey of life. And for some, this chakra system might feel also a little esoteric and a little more tangible in that sense, because if you were on that 7-week chakra journey with me, and we walk through each of the chakras, and certainly if I think, you know, at some point it would be so helpful for us to have these 2-hour workshops for each of the chakras, because it really allows us to go in deeper rather than a 60-minute condensed kind of, let's get everything in as much as we can. But it really invited us as an introduction to how each of the chakras can relate to different parts of our body, can relate to different parts of our emotional state. And it really provides some insight to maybe certain imbalances we might be experiencing. And I know for myself, there are times when I have, you know, maybe a stomach problem or something like that. And I think about, oh God, what is going on with my energy? Where am I at? And it might really be an indication as to some imbalances within a specific chakra. I'm talking, you know, the second chakra, which would be your sacral chakra. And like I said, individuals may find connections with the chakra system as a way to connect inward with the body. Sometimes in yoga, I know for myself, when I first began my yogic journey as a yogi and then as a yoga instructor, a lot of the terminology felt really kind of out there and esoteric, and I couldn't really connect to it. But then I got introduced to the chakra system, and it was like, oh, wow, this is quite something. I can really, I can relate to this. So that was really something that was quite powerful, to be able to connect in, with the chakra system was a nice way to be able to have that tangible kind of connection. Each of the chakras are symboled as a circular shape, and that represents the celestial order and balance. And these wheels are always spinning. So always we want to think about these chakras as always moving and always working, if you will. I'm just going to make sure. Okay. All right. So then we've got the subtle, and in Anodia's book, Wheels of Life, Anodia Judith states that the subtle body system is a non-physical psychic body that is superimposed on our physical bodies. The subtle body is made of layers called the koshas, and you can kind of almost invite those as an idea, as an onion. And much like the peel of the skin of an onion, to get to the center, the koshas act like layers we peel off of ourselves through the practice of yoga. And at the core, we find that subtle energy is where we find the chakras. So if you've practiced with me, you may have heard me talking about the koshas, and we've talked about it being like an onion, where we're kind of peeling off our layers, and each kosha represents a different layer. And we do this with our yogic practice. Every time we come to the mat, we kind of try to peel off one more layer, or I mean, not in each class, but we're just trying to learn a little bit more about ourselves. And at the core of that is really our subtle energy system. Now, the chakra system is certainly not new. It's been around since the Vedic period. However, it was really during the Tantric period around 500 AD to the 13th century where we really got a better understanding of the chakras. Tantra in Sanskrit means to web or to weave energy. And it's so interesting that it was during this time that we started to see a bit more of that integration of the subtle body system. So it has certainly been around for a really, really long time. And it is also, depending on the era, there may be different number of chakras. We know the chakra system right now as a 7 chakra model. However, there are 100 chakra models, there are 4 chakra models, there are 3 chakra models. Currently, in the time and space that we are in right now, we currently know the chakra system as a 7 chakra model. We don't know what will happen in a couple of years from now, and 10 years from now, and 100 years from now. That chakra system model may change. Now, when we talk about the chakra systems, we have to talk about the subtle energies, because that's really what it is all about. And the chakra system is based on the nadis. The nadis are pathways or channels of prana in the system. Prana, we know, is force, life force, and it's like this energy within the system. Nadis are not tangible manifestations. If you cut your body in half, you're not going to see all these energy sources running through your body. However, when you start to connect with your inner energy, we start to really become aware of where our energies are when we start to really connect and check in with ourselves. And it doesn't just randomly move in different areas. There's a system to the energy system that we have within each of us. There are 72,000 nadis in our system. So that first picture that you have or that picture with on the right-hand side of your screen are all these different nadis, all these different energy systems that run within the body. And it's like they weave, intersect each other. However, they all come back to center. And at the so on the image on the left, you're going to see all of the chakras, and you're going to see these intersections, kind of these weaving motions, if you will, the red and the blue. And in the middle, you have the yellow. At each intersection is where each of the chakras lay within the body. We have two different sides to the body. We have the Ida on the left side, and we have the Pingala on the right side. And in the middle, we have Sushumna. So these are the major energy systems that run within our body. We wouldn't talk too much about the 72,000 because there's so many, but we kind of block them into 3 systems, if you will, being Sushumna being right centered in the body, and the Ida and the Pingala. And Ida and Pingala represent duality. So they represent Shiva and Shakti, masculine and feminine. And where Ida and Pingala intersect along the Sushumna, so that center line, that yellow line you see on the screen, is where each of the 7 chakras are. And these subtle body systems are superimposed on our physical body, and they run along the spine. And the system of nadis intersect in a fashion that's super condensed. So you want to think of the chakras are acting like a central hub. So each of the chakras are acting like a central hub, like you would see at an airport. LAX is a great example because there's so many airplanes coming um, into that particular airport. So LAX being each of the chakras, and all these different energies are kind of flowing and coming towards our center, being our energy systems, our different chakras. So it's really quite an impactful place, and each of them represent different areas of the body, different organs, different emotional states as well, as we've discussed when we did our 7-week chakra journey. Sorry, I'm not distracted. I'm just making sure that Elisa, because I'm a little bit wondering if she's okay. All right, so I was just taking a look if she text messaged me. It is impossible to talk about the chakras without discussing Kundalini. Kundalini might be a word you've never heard before. It was a word I had never heard before until about, I guess, about 4 or 5 years ago. I went to a Wanderlust yoga conference down in up in Quebec, where we had our cottage. And there was a very famous yogi guru that was teaching a Kundalini class. And Kundalini is a meditation practice, and it's directed to release the Kundalini energy. So you may have heard, or maybe have seen, or maybe even have practiced Kundalini yourself. And I don't know a whole lot about Kundalini, so I'm going to keep this really short. But because of the nature of where Kundalini lies, it's very much in relation to the Muladhara chakra. And also it is very important to include the Kundalini discussion, because it's really that energy that rises from down all the way up when it is awakened. So Shakti Kundalini is a form of feminine energy, and is believed that when it is at rest, it sits coiled at the base of the spine where the Muladhara chakra rests. Kundalini is represented as a serpent. You'll often see Kundalini either as a snake or as a snake that's coiled when it is at rest. And it is a symbol of enlightenment, immortality, and a pathway to the gods. The Kundalini, it is believed in tantric texts that once Shakti Kundalini, which is representative of all things preservation, creation, and destruction, when Shakti Kundalini is awakened, she begins her journey upward through each of the chakras, and where she hopes to meet Shiva. And Shiva is coming down, the divine consciousness is coming down from and into the crown, and they are set to meet. And that is really where we invite this sense of enlightenment, where we are seeking enlightenment. And as Kundalini Shakti is moving through each of the chakras, she is hoping to awaken her subject, being us humans. So when we think of Muladhara being at the base of the spine, it is really where we begin. And Kundalini is that way to begin the path. Now, there are practices in Kundalini. You may have seen or heard people who have been to a Kundalini class, and the Kundalini practice is really centered around trying to awaken the Kundalini serpent. And some people who've had a Kundalini experience, I have not, but have had a Kundalini experience, have been in this state, can go into a state of enlightenment, and almost they come into this really state. I think, some people have, kind of associated with the state of kind of just, I don't want to say psychosis because that's not correct, but there's this sense of like, you're just kind of in this different world for even just a brief moment. I read in books as I was going through this, actually it was, I think, in Wheels of Life, that discussed that people have been in it for several days. That's obviously not the norm, but that is the Kundalini practice. If you are invited to go and try one, just remember it can be an intense practice. I did not experience that when I did do it, but I did have this sense of reawakening when I did it. We did a lot of things I really had to take myself out of my comfort zone for, but it was really an empowering practice. So I do encourage you to explore it, but explore it with just, an easy way just to kind of take it not too heavy because it can be a very intense practice. Now, when we talk about Mount Meru in yoga mythology is a mystical mountain. And I wanted to include this in the presentation because I felt like it's so important too when we talk about the chakra system. Mount Meru in yoga mythology represents the central axis of the entire universe and is responsible for anything that is manifest. Mount Meru is supported by the strength of the elephants. So you'll see the elephants holding up the world, and is surrounded by the sea. So the sea being representative, and of course you see that coiled serpent, that Kundalini serpent at the base underneath the turtle, and the Kundalini is, and we're reawakening or awakening that Kundalini when we kind of invite this awareness and start beginning the journey of awakening. And Mount in yoga, the spinal column is known as Merudanda. So representative of Mount Meru, the central axis of the universe, the central axis within us is Merudanda, our spine. Danda means staff or stick. So a long stick represents the danda. And if you think of Dandasana, one of the poses we do all the time in yoga, that forward fold with the legs extended, that is really representative of our Merudanda, our central axis within us. And Meru is not just a place out there. It is really a place from within us. It is our central axis. And the human spine is considered to be the internal Meru on which the body's physical structure as well as metaphysical structure stands. So we always talk about the spine when we're practicing yoga. It's almost on, I don't know if I've ever taught a class where I did not discuss the spine at some point, whether it's even in a workout class. We're always thinking about finding that balance. So we think of that spine as that place of balance. Next, we'll talk quickly about the chakra locations. Just again, we're just touching upon the chakras here just because it's so important to kind of remind ourselves of all the different chakras. And the 7 chakras are located near the nerve ganglia, and that emanate from the spine. So you'll notice in the image here, you've got all these pockets of nerves that come out. And each chakra represents a different earth element: earth, water, air, space. And each element has its own Bij mantra, that seed word, which you probably remember if you did the 7-week chakra with me. And it's an element sound mantra. There's different, we'll learn about Muladhara today, and you may recall some of them from the previous program that we did. And each element offers a different characteristic, consistency, and quality to it. Each can educate us on different aspects of ourselves, and they have the very specific and important physiological implications, as well as any imbalances that we might be going through. So like I talked to you earlier, if you're feeling a little off, you might kind of take a moment and just check in. Maybe you're feeling a little imbalanced in one particular chakra. What we are ultimately seeking is as much balance as possible within each of the chakras. In Wheels of Life, Judith explains that some interpretations advise us that transcending down to our lower chakras in favor of a more expansive upper chakra. She does not believe that this was the intention of the tantric text. So often what I mean by that, what I think she means by that is we're often in yoga seeking this enlightenment. So we're paying more attention to the upper chakras versus the lower chakras, kind of almost implying that they're more important than the other. Judith does not believe that. And I I would imagine that the intention was really to seek balance between all of the chakras versus one over the other. So, although there might be this inclination to want to seek enlightenment, we need to be able to find that enlightenment by finding balance with all of the chakras. And it is important, as much as it is important to see, we're seeking enlightenment, we're also seeking to create that foundation to which everything else is built upon. So it's like, and I'll talk about a house later, but it's like, or a tree, for instance, can't grow taller and stronger if it doesn't have roots embedded into the earth. And you want to think about that as well with regards to the chakra system. If your foundation is not solid, it's really going to be hard to build on your yogic practice without that foundation. So here we are, the Muladhara chakra, finally. So we've started just a little rundown of the chakras, but it's so important to kind of go through that again. All right, so the Muladhara symbol, as I was doing my research for our workshop, I found so many different representations of Muladhara. I'm wearing one today on my t-shirt. I don't know if you could see it. Very simple lotus flower with the Abij mantra in the center, and it's symbolized by the color red. Now, this particular representation of the Muladhara chakra is one that I haven't seen too often, but one that I thought was really important because it incorporates so much. And I think it incorporates so much that is in relation to all the different aspects of this particular chakra. So here in this image, and you'll often see the square on most of the symbols for Muladhara. The square represents the firm foundation of the world. And it is often represented in the shape of a square. So if you think of tiles on a wall, if you think of brick, many times we see them in shapes of squares, maybe even buildings, they're squared. So it is representative of the foundation of the world. And it also represents the 4 different directions, so north, south, east, and west. Often within the square, you'll see a triangle pointing down. I don't have a triangle pointing down, but I do have one down here that's pointing down, and that is really to indicate the direction being down towards the earth. In this image, you have a 7-trunked elephant, and that is representative, his name or its name is Aravata. And we also associate this symbol with the elephant, and we also associate this symbol with the elephant-headed god Ganesha, the Lord of Obstacles. So you'll see here you've got the elephant there, symbol of the Lord of Obstacles being Ganesha, and Ganesha's 7 trunks. He has represent different things. So this particular image, that you don't know if you see 7 trunks, but you'll often see it represented with 7 elephant trunks, and each represent a different aspect, one being security, longevity, sexuality, share knowledge, self-realization, self-understanding, and a need for union. And those are really fundamental aspects of the Muladhara chakra. Dakini is at the top of this particular image and is a manifestation of Shakti, responsible for all things. We know all things of preservation, creation, destruction. And Dakini is holding 7 different symbols in her hand: a sword, a cup. I did say 7. She's got, 4 different symbols in her hand: a sword, a cup, a spear, and a skull. And they all represent different things within the Muladhara chakra, so all things preservation related. Now, the Muladhara chakra, from a physical standpoint, is located at the base of the spine, near the coccyx and the perineum. And the perineum is right between the inner thighs. It connects down into the pubic symphysis area and is kind of located on the deep into the inner thighs. And of course, we think of the tailbone is also that location of where the Muladhara chakra is. And many times, if you've done practice with me, I've talked to you about, let's bring our tailbone down towards the earth, connect down, maybe connect into your ischium, your sits bones, really trying to draw that area of the body down towards the earth, because it really starts with that foundation. Now, the root chakra, the element is earth. So, of course, when we talk about grounding, we cannot not talk about the earth. And this is where this chakra is representative. The color is red. The purpose of this chakra is grounding, stability, safety, and security. And the developmental age is from the womb to 1 year. So we really create that sense of safety and security really at the beginning of our life. Identity, physical identity, a demon of this chakra is fear. Of course, fear would throw our security and our sense of stability off. The gifts of this chakra is solidarity, solidity, practicality, prosperity. The right is the right to be here and the right to have. When overactive, your body may feel heavy, slow, sluggish, trouble with attachment to security. Maybe you're feeling insecure about something that's happening and you're overly concerned about trying to be safe. Whether it's underactive, might be scattered, ungrounded, spacey, and flighty, might be a little all over the place when it's underactive. And that's, we always try to find a little bit of that balance between the two. The principle is gravity. Of course, we're thinking about drawing ourselves down to the earth. Outer manifestations are connected to solid things. So things we can touch, things we can feel. The glands physically, the adrenal glands. Parts of the body that really connect with this grounding chakra is our legs, feet, bones, large intestine, and our teeth. Physical malfunctions when this chakra is imbalanced, it may be weight problems, hemorrhoids, constipation, sciatica, knee issues, anything with the lower body. If you're experiencing that, might be something that might relate to this particular chakra being out of balance. Now, we talked about this chakra being really one that is centered around making sure your needs are met. Foundationally, we all need to make sure that our basic needs are met, all of us. Every single living being on this earth is seeking to make sure that our basic needs are met. In order for us to feel balanced in the chakra, we need to make sure that our needs are met in a balanced and healthy way. If not, we're going to be in a perpetual state of ungroundedness, and we'll find it hard to get our feet off the ground. So if you're feeling like you're imbalanced, if you're not feeling grounded in a safe way, you may find yourself kind of all over the place and finding it hard to make decisions, finding it hard to be in a certain space. It may just feel insecure. You might feel a little off, a little anxious. These are all things that really can affect our ability to be grounded. Safety, security, grounding, and stability. It's important that we have what we need to function, to feel safe, such as water, shelter, food, survival. Oh, sorry. Survival. Let me go back to that. Survival, the fundamental survival needs. Now, of course, we're living in a modern day, and our primal roots, however, were founded in a state where we needed to hunt for our food, build our shelter, and take care of our basic needs with the tools that we had many years ago. That is really innately within us. And if our self-preservation is threatened, our body reacts physically, and it puts into a state of fight or flight in our nervous system. We talked about that when we did the psoas release. When we're in this fight or flight, we want to run away, we want to protect ourselves. Same thing when we don't feel grounded, we're still in that heightened scent. Now, luckily, we're not having to hunt for our food. I mean, I hope not. I hope you don't have to hunt for your food. We don't have to build our shelter. We don't have to do that on a daily. We're not worried about where our next perhaps our meal is. For some of us, that's not the case for all of us. Of course, I understand that. But in modern day society, we have the ability not to worry about being, chased by bears and things like that. Um, and all those things would throw our sense of safety and self-preservation really into turmoil. So that would really affect our Muladhara chakra. And when our foundation is thrown off, we are unable to build on that foundation with a sense of stability. So you imagine building a house, and you build a house, and I was doing research and looking for, for images on a house that's fallen over. And it was so amazing to see, like, when you look at these houses, and these houses are built on a foundation that is not supported, it's impossible to build that house and make it feel safe and sturdy. So same thing with our lives. When our foundation is off and we don't have that sense of safety and security, it's really hard to move into different aspects of our life if that's not there. But let us consider the last year. The last year, we have experienced truly a global sense of our foundation being rocked, right? Our sense of stability, of security. There's so much issues like food insecurity, job insecurity, health concerns, financial concerns. And during these last 14 months or so, we may have experienced that in one way or another. Fear of job loss, fear of our health, our sense of stability, normalcy has been thrown off and shaken. These are all very significant situations that can throw our sense of security and balance off. We talk about, years ago when my husband and I and our family was living overseas. We were living in Germany, and we were in a space of trying to figure out where we were going to go. And when you live abroad, one of the things I've come to realize is there's always this sense that you're not grounded. There's always this sense that you never know what's going to come the next day. In 5 years, we moved, in 10 years, we moved 5 times. And so there was always this sense within me that, okay, where are we going next? And my foundation for years, and I can say that unequivocally, probably until about 2 years ago, where I truly didn't feel like the sense of safety, of foundation, not safety, foundation, really didn't become at the forefront of my life until I really felt, okay, we're here now. And it took so long. And people would say, oh, but you live overseas, how exciting. But when your foundation doesn't feel solid, it's really hard to see all of that other stuff. It really is, because everything you do, you always kind of wake up in the morning like, I wonder what's going to happen today. Now, it wasn't a function of where was I going to find my food, where was I going to live? No, that's true. I had those things, but so many people don't. And so their foundation of where they're going to seek their next meal, where they're going to seek shelter, and for so many millions and millions of people in the world, that foundation is simply not there. So I look at it, I had it from my perspective living as an expat, but I certainly couldn't imagine how their foundation for other people who do have job insecurity, food insecurity, shelter insecurity, how that would impact their ability to really try to move on with their lives. So, and it's important for us to try to seek that foundation as best as we can. And sometimes it's hard. But when we are able to connect to that foundation of safety and security, we are able to really build upon that and grow into ourselves and turn into ourselves, right? To be true to us without having to worry about all those other things. Which brings me to the topic of grounding. And I had to throw in this image because it's so beautiful. We know that when we build things on unstable grounds, and you see this image of the house with wings, the roots have pulled up the house. And it's a real great symbol of how, in order for us to progress to the other chakras, we need to be able to find that sense of stability in order for us to have true growth in our lives. Grounding. Flying starts from the ground. The more grounded you are, the higher you fly. A fundamental aspect of the Muladhara chakra is its relationship to the earth and to the importance of grounding. When I talk about this word grounding, um, I come to it from a physical sense, really grounding into the earth, physically touching the ground and connecting there. This particular quotation really exemplifies the importance of grounding, not just physically, but also mentally as well. Um, as the effect of grounding and how it has on our lives. I always think of the sense of when you meet someone who's grounded, you really get that sense that they have this connection to the earth, and there's this underlining sense of confidence that they just know. There's this inner knowing, and I'm always amazed when I meet people who just have this grounding. As a child, when I would meet people who just knew, they just knew. It wasn't a sense of ignorant, arrogance or anything like that. There was just this sense of inner knowing. I'm always amazed with my son. He's got his feet grounded to the earth and he knows what he wants. And it's like, wow, like that's just amazing. And although he might not realize he's grounding down and he's connecting to the earth and he just has his feet planted there, and how that affects the confidence, but it really is a fundamental thing when it comes to foundation, creating that foundation that's really stable, and how that affects things like confidence and whatnot, and how it allows us to fly, it allows us to bloom. So when we talk about the physical act of grounding, in this image, which is beautiful because you can see that sciatic nerve running down the right leg here, and you see this image of the mountains in the background. And the sciatic nerve is one of the largest peripheral nerves in the body, which travels down the leg from the solar plexus, and it acts like a root for the nervous system. When we walk, sit, lay down, we are connecting to the earth and interacting with the earth element. Our legs and our feet provide movement, and that movement allows us to perform necessary tasks that help us stay safe, provide the ability to work, and to do things that help us fulfill our basic needs. Grounding involves connecting and opening the lower chakras. Earth is a solid constant and relates to all things solid. Helps us deal with stress and anxiety. Gravity is always pulling us downwards to help us stay connected. When we ignore or deny it, we then allow ourselves to be to deny the connection to the earth, and we may find ourselves having trouble finding our way. And it is through this root that we gain nourishment, power, stability, and growth. When we lose this connection, we are cut off from our biological force, that force from the earth. Judith, in the book of Wheels of Life, states that those who simply cannot find their way have not yet found their root. She writes that sometimes we are too busy looking up, and we talk about that importance that we see, maybe focusing more on the upper chakras rather than looking down where our feet meet the ground. Our roots are built on instinctual feelings, memories, our past, cultural heritage, and the indestructible fabric of our being. Judith also states that from great diversity of imagination to the intricate requirements of the physical world, the earth plane is the testing ground of our beliefs. That is which is grounded, substance, and validity will find its way into manifestation. That which has roots will endure. When our body feels safe, we open up to consciousness. And that is so fundamentally true. When we feel safe, we feel like we can do things. We feel like we can explore things. We're not held back by fear. If you think of, I could think of a million circumstances where fear really dictated decisions I've made in my life. But when you have this sense of grounding, really just from that physical connection, you really empower yourself to make decisions that are stemmed from a sense of support, and confidence rather than a sense of fear. Now, grounding can help with stress and anxiety. The physical act of grounding can help us with stress and anxiety. The earth is a solid constant. So, with the earth being always relating to all things solid, such as our bodies, our health, survival, material and financial existence, and provides the ability to focus and manifest our needs. The earth helps us keep our attention in the present moment. When we are absent and not grounded, we may appear to be not there at all. And when we are in that state, it can make us feel powerless, and cause us to feel stressed and anxious. So oftentimes when we meditate, whether it's in a class with me or anytime we meditate, we really try to focus on a couple of things. First and foremost, we try to connect and sit in an upright position. So whether you're sitting down on a yoga block, or you're sitting in a chair, we try to invite this sense of connection downward towards the earth. And it is this physical connection down towards the earth that offers us a way of just being able to first set that tone, really connect, really bring that awareness to where we're at. And it is really a place where we can also allow the earth to absorb any energy we need to let go of, any anxiety or stress we need to let go of. I've talked many times in our classes about the earth being a sponge. The earth is a place we can just let go. We can just allow those stresses to be released into the earth, and the earth can take it because it's there for us always. It's that constant. And it's a place where we can like I just said, let go of our emotions and release our state of being if it's a place we don't want to be in. You think about a child, and I love this example because I'm sure we've all been there. Our child's been hurt, and the child comes running to you, crying its eyeballs out. And what does this young child do? It comes and it buries its head in your heart. And what that child is doing is that child is releasing that emotion. It wants to let it go. And we, as parents, we take it in. So Mother Earth is like that for us. Mother Earth is taking us in, absorbing whatever it is we need to. And then when that child is done, it goes back to the earth and it runs off and it's done. It's taken care of. So the earth is like that for us. We can allow the earth to absorb whatever emotions we need to let go of, by just simply grounding, simply literally physically putting your feet down to the ground. So whether you're sitting on a cushion, you're sitting in a chair, you often see people, or we often encourage people to really put their feet down to the ground, both feet. We also try to encourage people to lengthen through the spine, to energize through that body, really invite that sense of connection down to the earth. And that is really step one, to try to really ground your body in, and just take a moment to notice your physical body, notice your breath, notice where you're at. Another great way to help with anxiety and stress, it's called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. And it's a 5-step exercise that can be helpful during times of anxiety, terms of maybe feeling this, when we're feeling ungrounded, there's a sense of like kind of flighty feeling around us. We're unable to kind of connect to our thoughts and to our body, kind of have that monkey mind, that chitti vritti we talk about in chitta vritti in yoga, where we've got that monkey mind, that cogwheel moving. And that can really also cause a lot of anxiety, especially if, well, I have that at night a lot of times, and it almost wakes me up at night. I have to just calm down and bring myself down to that space, just really connect to the earth to quiet the mind. But if you've had also a really busy day, got a lot going on, it can really make us feel all over the place. So this 5-4-3-2-1 coping technique starts with sitting down and just taking a moment. You don't have to sit down, you could do the standing, but sitting down, grounding through, or standing up and grounding through the feet, and just first beginning with acknowledging 5 things in your area that you see around you. So just connect with sight. And then we go to 4. And then I want you to go to 4 things that you can touch around you. So we're really checking in with our senses here. Then we go down to 3 things you can hear. Maybe you can hear a dog barking, you can hear a car passing by, you can hear the wind outside. Then we move down to 2 things that you could smell. Then you can move down to 1 thing that you can taste. And this technique really allows us to connect in with our senses, which is that first connection to the earth. So what a wonderful way to just bring yourself down, calm your anxiety, calm your stress by just checking in with the physical world around you. So that's one technique that can always be used even if you have someone, maybe if you have a grandchild that's going through it, just go, all right, let's look at 5 things. Let's look at, let's see or touch 4 things and see how that works. It's a wonderful technique. Another fundamental aspect of this chakra is the right to be here and the right to have. Fundamentally, our safety, survival, stability are all rights that we are entitled to. We are allowed to have things, be it material, physical, or emotional. We are entitled to live in abundance and not scarcity. I've spoken very openly about my mother's mental health issues and her addiction issues growing up. And my father passed away when I was young. I was 8 years old. My brother was 12. And that was like almost like the beginning of this sense of like a rocking boat. And one of the reasons I love this chakra so much is because it really truly came to the essence of for so many of us who grew up in homes that are that have mental health or addiction issues. There is no foundation. There is no sense of safety because you don't ever know what you're coming home to. You're always in a sense, heightened state of fear or flight, fight or flight. And that sense of foundation is simply just not there. And as a result of that sense of foundation not being there, it really impacted a tremendous amount of my life and decisions I've made, thought process I've had, levels of confidence, senses of feeling safe within myself, within my environment, just from day-to-day activities. It really shook my life for, well, it's still a process that I'm working through. And one of the things that I learned when I began my yogic journey, and I talked about and was approached, or we learned about the chakras, was how important the foundation of the Muladhara chakra is to really help gain that sense of confidence and sense of right to have and the right to be here. For a long time, I didn't feel like I had the right to have things because I had grown up in an environment that wasn't, ideal and compared to other people. In my head, of course, I know everybody has their story. So I know that now, but as a teenager, you don't realize that, or as a young adult, you think you're one of the only ones who's dealing with this, when in fact, that's not the truth. But so much of decisions I've made was because I didn't feel like I had the right to have a happy life, or I didn't have the right to earn a certain salary, or to have a certain job, or I wasn't educated enough. And this is the rhetoric that for so many of us goes on in our heads. We're thinking this and saying this to ourselves. And often it's built on, obviously, untruths, but it's also built on a place where it comes from a foundation that was not stable. So ask yourself, who is responsible for your survival? Ultimately, we are responsible for our own survival. Do you feel like you have control over your own needs? Can you make that decision? When you think about it logically, do you have control over it? And the answer, ultimately, when it's grounded, comes from a space of yes, you do have that control to make your own decisions. Do you feel like you need to ask permission to take care of yourself? Are you listening to your body and hearing to its needs? Or are you feeling like you have to do, what you're being told rather than listening and tuning in with you and being honest with what works for you? Are you tuning in and providing the needs that your body requires? Are you eating properly? Are you exercising? Are you doing things that bring you into homeostasis, into that sense of balanced state? Do you find yourself being busy all the time? Sometimes when we're feeling ungrounded, there's always a sense of, I have to be busy. I have to distract myself. And we live in a world of distraction. We live in a world of, let's check social media, let's turn on the TV, let's do something other than checking in with ourselves, because checking in with ourselves is really hard work, and that I want to avoid that at all costs. And sometimes we do that. I do that. If I didn't have my yogic practice, I'd be scatterbrained all the time, and I am scatterbrained, as you all know sometimes. But really being able to just tune in and not be distracted, and to listen to what's going on. And do you question whether you deserve to have your needs fulfilled? Do you question, like, oh, am I deserving of this or not? Do you question that? Do you sometimes feel or think to yourself, no, I'm not deserving of things? And when I say things, I'm not necessarily referring to physical things or emotional things. I'm referring to things in general. So it could be physical, emotional, physical needs. So are you tuning in? Are you questioning that? So if you've answered any of these questions, and we probably have, with some answers that we can work on, it's time to create your own story. And in order for us to build on this foundation of the right to be here and the right to have, we need to begin by creating our own story and recognizing our own self-worth. Talk about feeling undeserving. When I think I spoke about this maybe in one class, where when we lived overseas, or even when we lived here, I would be running around, distracting, right? Didn't want to check in. Busy, always doing stuff, always busy. That was my life. I went from one thing to the other, wasn't taking care of my health, wasn't taking care of my mind, wasn't taking care of my body the way I needed to. I was just busy, running around all the time. My husband would go away on business trips for work, and when we lived overseas, he'd be gone for 5, potentially 10, 14 days, and I'd be busy with the kids. And then he'd come home exhausted, and rightfully so, working ridiculous hours, and would come home, and I'd be busy doing stuff. And then on one day I would it happens still now, I would look over and I'd find him in the living room, sitting on the couch, middle of the afternoon on a Sunday or a Saturday, watching television. And I'd look over and I'd be like, whoa. Initially, I'd be fired up. I'd be like, what in the world is going on here? Why is he sitting down and chilling out while I'm running around, cooking dinner, taking care of the kids, driving here, driving there, trying to make everybody happy and trying to do everything, right? Well, there were times when I'd look at him and I'd be pretty ticked off, and I'd be like, gosh, how nice is that? And he'd look at me like, well, hold on. Who's stopping you from taking a rest? And that was a tough question to answer, because reality be told, no one was. But it took the ability and it took time, it really did, to look at myself without a distracted view, to really be able to recognize that actually no one other than myself was telling me that I couldn't sit down and rest. I couldn't sit down and have a coffee and just tune out for a couple of hours. I probably needed it more than anything, but nobody was telling me I couldn't, because I felt like I wasn't worthy of it. And my husband recognized that his worth, his well-being, and his self-worth was so important, and this rest was so necessary to his self-preservation, his foundation, his self-care, And it wasn't an act of selfishness. In fact, it was an act of self-preservation and self-worth. So when we build our story, we need to look at it from a foundation of groundedness, of clarity, and of self-worth. And you are deserving to have the things that you have. Move from a place where you deserve abundance, stability, and security. Recognize that those are fundamental things that we are all deserving of. And to be able to be present and to build on our story, we need to assert ourselves. We need to be clear about what it is we need. We need to claim our place in the world. We need to move from a space of clarity and also talk from a space of clarity, being able to clearly define what it is we need, not wishy-washy around it because we're fearful of hurting someone's feelings, but rather stating in a clear way, this is what I need. We need to secure our survival, making sure we have our basic needs met, housing, food, all those things. And we need to raise our ability to have high enough so that it fits our needs, rather than saying, oh, well, this is just good enough. No, it could be here. It could be here. And being able to say clearly, no, I want my needs to grow. I want to fill those needs, but I want them to be here and not just settling. Just saying, this is enough. This is okay for me. And again, I'm not talking from a space of physical material things. It could be that, but I'm also talking from a space of emotional, that just sitting there on the underlining thing, well, I'm okay. I'm all right. And this is fine. I have friends, a dear friend of mine who is clearly not happy, but it's clear she just says, well, this is fine. And I'm thinking to myself, is this really fine? No, it's not fine. You should be able to be here, if not here, because you deserve that. So create your own story. When we think about the balancing of our chakras, when we have imbalancing in our root chakra, we may have an underactive or an overactive chakra. When we begin to seek further into the chakra system, it is a way for us to see and feel any imbalances we may be experiencing. Some chakras may feel more balanced than others. For some, maybe their foundation is really grounded and they feel really solid there. But maybe their sacral chakra, their sexuality chakra might feel a little imbalanced. So there's different imbalances that could exist. And it's a work in progress. We talk about yoga being a practice. It's a practice because we're every day practicing. But what we're seeking is that balance between all of the chakras, really trying to invite that in to our practice every time we approach the mat. Now, when we find ourselves in a place where we have an underactive chakra, Muladhara chakra, there's a sense of disconnection from the body, a resistance to structure, feelings of fear and anxiety, restlessness, and an inability to sit still. Uncertainty, although we don't always have the same concerns, although we do not have the same concerns as we did like in our primordial days, we are still constantly faced with challenging, unstabilizing situations, such as fear of losing one's job, worrying about how to get a car fixed if it breaks down, health concerns, family issues, financial issues, trust. All these things can really throw our root chakra out of imbalances or into an imbalance, state of imbalance. And we're always so driven to find the next thing too. We're always looking that we lose sight of that connection within ourselves. We're always kind of, like I said, distracting ourselves to the next thing rather than really tuning in and checking in with really where we are right now. And Anodia says in Wheels of Life, she says, as we become more mechanized and urbanized, our contact with the earth and nature becomes tenuous, and with it, our health and self-worth. Our power is transferred to the upper body, where it too is tenuous and must be constantly guarded. Because we see ourselves as separate, powers become an act of manipulation rather than connection. We lose touch of our animal nature, and with it, our sense of instinctual power, grace, and peace. When we have a sense of self that comes from the body, and we have less need to affirm ourselves through ego inflation, ground is home. It's familiar, safe, and secure. It has a power of its own. That is really, really powerful. Because so often we move from a place of our ego and not from our big S self, our soul self, that's inner self, that inner knowing, but rather we're driven by ego. And ego is not a bad thing. Like I often think of ego in a negative connotation, but it really isn't a bad thing. We need our ego. But we really want to try to move from that big S self, that big S, that big instinctual inner person. When our Muladhara is overactive, we may feel like our stress levels are really high, and people, today, again, like I said, people are running from one thing to the next, and we're moving all day long, and this causes us pain, suffering. And it's interesting because often when we're so busy doing all the stuff that's distracting us and causing us stress and causing us all this anxiety, it is often those people who find it the hardest to ground, because they just don't know quite how to deal with that because it's so confronting. But yet it is the grounding that is really what we need most, to be able to calm ourselves down and really check in with ourselves. And that's really something that, we often sometimes may find ourselves in that overactive stage in our chakra system, especially with the way sometimes our days are. We're busy, we're trying to hold multiple hats, and some days might feel like we're more overactive with our chakra. And sometimes we may feel a little underactive with our chakras. So, it's always trying to find that balanced state. So when we find ourselves in a balanced state within the chakra, there's this sense of feeling grounded. Our physical health is in a good space. We're comfortable being in our own bodies. There's a sense of safety and security. And there's a sense of feeling safe and stable and solid, sorry. Ability to be still, that's a big one, because if we're feeling off, we're having that inability to be quiet within ourselves. When we sit with that sense of quiet, that can really invite more grounding and more balance to the chakra. And an ability to be in the here and now, to really be present with this moment. Now, tools to help balance our Muladhara chakra. Meditation. This is my daughter. Meditation, of course, is a wonderful way to ground and bring awareness to the physical body. Vipassana meditation, which is a newer meditation that I just recently was introduced to, was founded by S.N. Genka, and is a practice that is observation-based, and it's a self-exploratory journey that invites deep interconnected relationship between body and mind. In Vipassana meditation, we are not governed by breathing practice and or any sort of mantra. It is simply sitting in stillness, and just trying to be aware of your present moment. And that is it. And it is an incredibly hard and challenging meditation, but it is a wonderful practice to be able to slowly integrate in your meditation program. I wouldn't say tomorrow, let's start and try Vipassana. If you're new to meditation, you may want to start off with just a mantra meditation where you repeat a mantra to yourself, or maybe a pranayama practice where you're breathing in, inviting some prana, some breath practice in with your meditation. But Vipassana is a really wonderful way to also just allow yourself to be grounded. Maybe even just sitting still for a minute and just trying to check in with your senses is also another wonderful way to invite and bring some balance to the chakra, the Muladhara chakra. 3 different mantra, mudra, and marmas. A mantra is a repeating mantra. We have one here, which is, I really encourage you. This is a wonderful one. And it just begins with very simple terms, 3 different I am statements. I am grounded, I am loved, and I am enough. Allowing that mantra to maybe be something you use in your meditation, one that you can sit quietly and repeat to yourself, either to yourself or in a japa form where you say it out loud to your out loud. And sometimes people use their meditation beads, maybe a mala stone that is really wonderful for grounding is a lava stone. Lava is a wonderful stone. It's black. I actually have a bunch here, but and it's a wonderful way to also, if you are doing a mantra meditation, to count out each bead as you're saying your mantra. A wonderful way also to connect physically to the ground just by touching the lava stones. And we've got mudra with the Prithi Mudra, which is that wonderful mudra where we connect our thumb to our ring finger. And then we've got our kind of two first fingers together, and we'll practice that shortly with our fingers down to the ground. And Tahardraya Marma, I don't know if I said that right. Talahridra, Talahidra Marma. Marma points are certain spots within the body. And it is a wonderful way to allow for release of tension and also to relax the muscular structure. Now, of course, the Talahadriya Marma is one that I chose specifically on the foot. There is also one in the center of the hand. So the center of the foot is a wonderful way just to draw some awareness to that connection of the feet down to the earth. It can feel a little sensitive, so I wouldn't put too much pressure down, but maybe if you're just sitting down and you just want to maybe repeat if you want your mantra, you can also put your thumb in towards midway through your foot and put a little pressure there just to bring that awareness to the soles of the feet. And again, these are all things we'll have in our, I'm going to send you the copy of the presentation so you have it for your toolbox. Asana, of course, asana is a wonderful way to connect in with the earth. So we've got different practices. Today, we're going to practice some of these today, and I'm going to send you this so that you have it for yourself. But a couple of few really great practices, asana practices or poses that you could use to ground would be Setu Bandhasana, which is bridge pose. Wonderful way connecting down through the feet, feeling the connection back of the shoulders as well as the back of the head. A really nice way to ground into the earth. We've got Apanasana, which is with that knee in towards the chest. Again, we've got the spine up against the ground. We've got our leg nice and extended, got a little bit of pressure in the heels to connect down. And of course, in a prone position, Shalabhasana, which is a locust pose, is a wonderful way to connect also to the earth through the front of the body. And of course, Sukhasana. Sukhasana, which if you'll see in my image, I've got Sukhasana in my Prithi Mudra. So my fingers are down towards the ground, just creating that connection down to the earth. And that's just a wonderful way. So if you do meditate, whether you're sitting on a chair or not, you can always maybe bring your hands down towards your chair, the cushion, and just connect down, just that idea of grounding down towards the earth. We've got Balasana, child's pose, one of my favorites. What a way to ground down to the earth. To come down from a busy day, I encourage you to go into Balasana, a really nice way to ground into the earth. And tabletop is always nice because we've got that really beautiful 6-point connection down on the earth between our hands, knees, and the tops of our feet. Tadasana, we can't talk any more about Tadasana being one of the most fundamental foundational practices when we our poses when we're talking about Muladhara, grounding down through the earth, through the sense of our feet. We do this all day long by walking. So you can even just walking, I know both of you walk, so it's such a wonderful tool to use when you are walking, whether you're by yourself or whether you're together. You can repeat your mantra, I am grounded, I am loved, I am enough. And so those are nice ways to really ground down to the earth. And of course, Vipassana, tree pose. You can't include this without this Muladhara practice or Muladhara chakra. You need to include tree pose because it is just such a foundational pose. Really invites that sense of grounding and rooting into the earth. And of course, it's just that connection to nature, the idea of tree, and just that visualization of that strong trunk down at the base. Other ways to connect down to the root chakra is, of course, being in nature. I know both of you are nature lovers, so I think for you, this is a wonderful, a testament to the importance of being out in nature. I know you probably are all like, oh yes, I feel great when I'm out in nature. So just being in nature, being able to touch the earth, being able to touch, literally physically touching the earth. I know we're coming into a season where now we're going to start planting and doing yard work. And it's such a wonderful way to connect back to the earth, is to really touch and feel the earth. Eating meats and proteins, so whether you're vegetarian or not, but eating meats and proteins is another way to connect into the root chakra. Eating root vegetables, of course, anything that comes up from the earth, or from the earth, from deep into the earth, that's also a wonderful way to be able to connect into the root chakra. Getting our hands dirty, like I just said, gardening, going for a walk, hiking, biking, anything that takes us outdoors. And when we awaken to the root chakra, we can invite this connectedness to the earth, our bodies, our needs, and to ourselves. We can build our lives on a foundation of strength, knowledge, and self-worth. We are given the opportunity to flourish from a grounded space. So when we awaken this root chakra, we really offer ourselves an opportunity to flourish and to grow. And we are given the opportunity to ground into our bodies and ground into our lives. So I hope that you both have gotten a little bit of information about this grounding chakra. And I hope that you can use some of the tools if you are ever feeling like you're feeling a little ungrounded, with the times being what they are, we're kind of being thrown back a little bit into that sense of ungroundedness again. We were hoping to kind of move forward, but we're going to take a couple of weeks to move back a little bit, especially with what's going on with COVID. But let this be perhaps some tools you can use to really invite that sense of grounding again. So thank you both for listening to my presentation. I hope you got something out of it. We are going to take a little 5-minute break, grab some water, grab whatever you need. I'm going to have a little sip of my tea, and then we're going to move directly into our asana practice. And we're going to start with that guided meditation / body scan. And so I encourage you to make yourself comfortable. We're not going to be moving vigorously today. It's going to be a very, very slow practice. So make sure that you have something warm and comfortable. And we'll meet back here in about 5 minutes, and then we'll get started right away. I'm going to just get myself onto the mat. If you have any questions from now till then, I'm going to be here. So feel free to check in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Sharon.
Hello, lovely. I was just coming to see if anybody was there.
I needed to use the powder room, so.
Oh, no, I'm sure.
Your commentary was really very relevant, I
Yeah.
think, because I run on high gear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to slow it down, and I think just understanding more about yoga and meditation and chakras and how they all interact, and it's very helpful, and I appreciate it. very much.
Oh, I'm so glad, Jane. It is really interesting. And oh, tell me 7 years ago that, this would have had any relevance to how we operate. I would have like, yeah, that's foofy stuff. But as we go through our journey, and every time we practice, whether we practice daily, monthly, yearly, anytime we come down to the mat where we have an opportunity to check in, we are really inviting that invitation to awareness. And so grounding, this particular topic, as I said earlier, is really, really, I don't know, it's just so irrelevant to our daily lives because we're on go all the time, right? It's like we play Monopoly and we're always on that go.
Mhm.
It's going, right? And it's hard. It's hard to take a step back sometimes because it's confronting sometimes. I know I'm a great distractor. I love to keep myself busy. When we were in quarantine due to COVID with our son, honestly, I was going crazy. It was just like so weird. I was like, my daughter was like, gosh, mom, just calm down. Like, I don't know, this is so hard. Like, why am I in the house? I have to do something. And I couldn't go anywhere. And I probably would have gone anywhere, but because I was told I had to stay home, I wanted to be everywhere and everything. And I was like, okay, hold on, take a step back here. Do you really need to rush out? Do you need to go anywhere? No, maybe you need this time to check in. And so, yeah, I'm glad that hopefully you got a little bit of something from it. So I always find it really interesting.
And maybe this is a good thing from the silly COVID business.
Yes.
It's caused everybody to take pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
And self-evaluate. And that's always very difficult.
Mm-hmm. And corporations too. One of the conversations I've been having frequently with several clients who are working within different industries, and they're now starting to prepare their return to work plans, and there's a lot of discussion about whether people really need to come back to the office. Maybe they need to, a lot of people are enjoying not having to run in traffic for 45 minutes to an hour twice a day, all that time that's lost, all that stress that's created. And now maybe trying to think a little bit more of this balance where we allow people a bit of flexibility to be home with their families and have a little bit less stress of transportation if they don't need to do it, right? So I'm hoping that you're absolutely right, Jane, that this is going to lead itself to some change.
I know it's been very good for both of our sons. They both have jobs that really can be done from home. They've got supportive spouses and private areas in their home. I mean, there's a lot of pieces that have to be in place for this to work.
Sure.
But neither of them want to return to an office environment.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of good.
Yeah.
So our job, like what Pam and I did as clinical hygienists or as faculty, that's different. You got to put yourself in the environment. Man,
of course.
I had a lot. I think anybody in any job has a lot of stress. I needed this like 30 years ago. These tools I'm learning from you and with
you. But you know what, Jane, I think that in different stages of our lives, and this is really my opinion, we're open to it in different stages of our lives too. When I was in my 30s, in yoga they call it the rasic stage. It was just the go go go. You have a young family, you're working, you're just trying to get through life, and sometimes that openness to being open to this type of stuff isn't always accessible because we're just not in that phase in our lives. So I think if we can look back and now learn from that and just be in the space that we're in now is also a beautiful place. If you're doing it earlier, great. I've got a 14 and a 16-year-old and I'm 44 years old and I'm learning this now. You can bet your bottom that I am talking to my kids about this all the time. I really am, because I wish that I had, like you said, this 30 years ago, 40, when I was a young teenager. It would have been, my daughter's like, oh, here she goes again. And she goes crazy. She's like, oh, mom's going to give me a life lesson. I'm like, yes, but if I can give this to you now and it resonates at some point when you're in your 20s and you are stressed out and you have something to hold on to, wonderful, please take it. So yeah, I mean, I think we approached it at different times in our lives when we need it too, right? That's kind of funky as well. Some things come when we probably wouldn't have been open to it then, but we are open to it now, but it came at the right time too. So
I agree.
yeah. Pam, do you have any comments, anything? No? Okay.
No. Yeah.
All right. So I wonder if there's a chakra that talks about being on time. Because I think I'm a little imbalanced in that one. Okay. So we've done so much. And what we're going to do next is I would like you to go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable space. And like I said, we're going to start today off. We're going to move through some of the asanas that we talked about in the presentation. And those are poses you've done before. So we're going to do them really gently for, the latter part of our time together, which is about 35 minutes or so. And so we're going to stick on time. We'll be done by 3. So we're just going to move some of those asanas after we finish this. This root chakra meditation comes from Wheels of Life. And I'll include it in the package if you want to use it. I might even try to record it for you so that you guys can have it and use it if you do want to at some future time. But it's a wonderful root meditation. It really invites us to connect in with our body, which is really the first and foremost way we try to invite the root chakra, that reconnection with the earth. So let's go ahead, find ourselves in a comfortable space. And I'm going to read it at, basically what she's written here. You are about to go on a journey through the layers of your own self. It is a journey through your life, through the worlds within and around you. It begins here in your own body. It begins now, wherever you are. It is your own personal quest. Make yourself comfortable, for the journey is not short. It could take months, years, or lifetimes. But you have already chosen to go. You began long, long ago. You have been provided a vehicle in which to take this journey. It is your body. It is equipped with everything you might need. One of your challenges on this journey is to keep your vehicle nourished, happy, and in good repair. It is the only one you will be given. So we begin our journey by exploring our vehicle. Take a moment to feel your body. Feel it breathing in and out. Feel your heart beating inside. The moisture in your mouth. The food in your belly. The sensation of cloth on your skin. Explore the space your body occupies. Height, width, weight. Find the front and back, the top and bottom, and the sides of your body. Begin a dialogue with your body so that you may learn its language. Ask your body how it feels. See if it is tired or tense. and take a moment to listen to the answer. How does your body feel about going on this journey? You have been given this vehicle for your journey, but it is not something you have. It is something that you are. You are your body. You are a body living life in this physical world. Getting up in the morning, eating, going to work, touching, sleeping, bathing. Feel your body going through the different routines. See the number of interactions it has with the outside world in a day. Notice the interchange of hands touching doors, steering wheels, other hands, papers, dishes, children, food, your lover. Think about how your body has grown and learned and changed over the years. What has it become for you? Do you ever thank your body for taking care of you? What is the world like that your body interacts with? Feel the textures, smell, colors, and sounds around you. Be your body feeling them. All the sensations your mind might miss, but your body experiences. Feel the hardness of the earth in the wood, cement and metal. Feel its straight lines, its solidity, its permanence. Feel the soft firmness of the earth in its natural curving gentleness, its protection and abundance. Feel the richness of this planet with its infinity of forms. Feel its immensity, its solidity, and how it supports you as you sit in your place on it, reading or listening. This planet is a vehicle too. It takes us through time, through space. Feel the earth as a central unified entity, a living body just like you, with an infinity of cells working together as a whole. You are a cell in this great body, part of Mother Earth as one of her children. We begin our journey here on this great body of Earth. Our long climb upward begins by going down. We go down into this body. As we go down into our own bodies, into our flesh, into our guts, into our legs and our feet, digging our roots deep into the earth, which supports and nourishes us. We move deep into her rocks and soil, deep into her guts of red hot lava, seething deep below into her source of life and movement and power. We sink deeply. We come to the base of our spine and find a red glowing ball of energy running down your legs, through your knees, into your feet. Feel that red hot energy through your feet, feel it running through your feet into the floor beneath you, through the floor and down into the earth, burrowing between rocks and roots, finding nourishment, support, and stability. Feel this cord of energy as an anchor, settling you, calming you, grounding you. You are here. You are connected. You are solid, but you are molten inside. Deep within your roots, you find your past, your memories, your primal self. Your connection here is simple, direct. You remember your heritage, your ancient self as a child of the earth. She is your teacher. What is this matter that comes from the earth? Think of the chair you're sitting in, the tree it once was, the cotton in the field, the cloth on the loom, the workers that transport it, sold it, sat on it before. Think of the thinks you have, the complexity in each one of them, their abundance. Think of the financial abundance you may have, however large or small it may be. Think of it as a gift from the earth. How does it come to you? What does your body do to get it? What do you use it for? Think of this money as a stream of life running into you and out of you, through your hands, your feet, your heart, and your mind. As it flows through you, feel yourself in a constant exchange with the earth. Let the feelings of abundance come up from the earth into your feet, your legs, your pelvis, your stomach, your heart, and your hands. Feel its expression in your throat, its recognition in your vision, its imprint on your mind. Take a deep breath and let it go down again through your body, through your head, neck, shoulders, arms, chest, belly, genitals, legs, feet, and down into the earth. Down below the surface of the earth, finding stability, finding nourishment, finding peace. Your body is the journey, and it is where you begin. It is your connection to the physical world, your foundation, the home of your dance. You are the place from which all action and understanding will arise, and to which it will return. You are the testing ground of truth. You are the ground on which all things rest. You are the earth from which all things grow. You are here. You are solid. You are alive. You are the point from which all things begin. Happy grounding, happy rooting, and happy anchoring. Let us take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, settle your sits bones down towards the earth, soften your shoulders. Let us move into Prithi Mudra by bringing our thumbs and our ring fingers together and our two fingers down towards the earth, taking a moment here to draw our attention down as we pull our spine up into a lengthened position, perhaps noticing our feet connecting to the earth, our sits bones connecting. Continue to breathe. Soften your face. And let us repeat our mantra. I am grounded. I am loved. And I am enough. I am grounded. I am loved. I am enough. I am grounded. I am loved. And I am enough. As you're ready, slowly begin to draw your hands towards your thighs and begin to blink the space around you into your awareness. Let us make our way down onto our back. And we're going to begin in Setu Bandhasana into our bridge pose. So let us begin by lying down on our back with our feet hip distance apart, resting your hands at the sides of your body. And perhaps if you are not comfortable going into bridge pose, you can always use a yoga block to go into supported bridge pose, and I'll show that option for you. If you're going through any low back issues, I would highly encourage you to use a block as opposed to moving into a bridge. So let us bring ourselves down to the floor, resting the arms at our sides. And before we begin to move here, I'd like us just to take a moment here to just notice the bottom, the back half of the body, connecting down to the earth. Our intention today is really to invite the sense of awareness of the earth and all of its solidity, its safety, and its support. So perhaps just for a brief moment here, take a look and feel the soles of your feet. Feel the grounding of the sacrum down to the ground. Maybe noticing the back of the arms, the back of the shoulders, the crown of the head resting down towards the earth. We can feel the different properties of the earth. We can feel the texture. We can feel maybe even the hardness of the earth that's beneath us, really holding us up. And then as you're ready, we begin to flow into our bridge. And if you're going into a supported bridge, we may begin to just energize through our heels and just lift our sacrum off the ground and set your sacrum down onto the block. So again, if we're taking care of our back today, maybe this is where we want to be. Just allowing ourselves to connect here into this supported bridge. Otherwise, if you're comfortable to go into a full bridge, begin to energize through the feet, engage in through the back body, and begin to draw yourself and lift yourself up as you open up through the front body. And you may have done this pose so many times in your yoga practice, but today I'd like you to focus just on this sense of grounding beneath you. Notice the shoulders, notice all those points of connection down towards the earth. Notice your body in space here. Notice if you can allow those connections of the earth to really invite a sense of stability and support. Notice if you can almost find this sense of ease here as you draw that awareness of the body pressing in towards the earth, grounding its roots, supporting you. Finding this sense of ease in the breathing. The sense of stillness. And then as you're ready, let us slowly begin to articulate through the spine, drawing each vertebrae down towards the earth. Connecting and setting our sacrum down to the ground. Let us bring both knees in towards the heart as we find ourselves in knees to chest. And perhaps rock your body from side to side, massaging the spine, spreading out the back, connecting down. So noticing our Merudanda, our central axis in our body here. And then as you're ready, let us come back through center, finding a balanced pose between the right and left side, the Ida and the Pingala. Really inviting the awareness of that subtle body of the Sushumna running from crown all the way down to the tailbone. Let us go ahead and come into Apanasana as we extend our right leg long and draw our left knee in towards the chest. Noticing the sole of the foot resting down, or the heel of the foot resting down towards the ground. You may even put a little bit of gentle pressure of the heel in towards the ground. Just inviting that sense of awareness of the grounding sensation of the body towards the earth. Taking a moment to release the shoulders as you draw your left knee in towards your heart, noticing the back of the body, how it feels different here. Maybe as your left knee is coming in, you may even notice a little more pressure of the back body pressing down towards the earth. And then as you're ready, let us extend the left leg long, draw the right knee in or switch sides. Perhaps drawing that left heel a little bit into the ground. Drawing the right knee in towards your heart. Simply noticing how one side may feel a little different. Continue to breathe in and out. Softening the shoulders. And then as you're ready, bring your opposite leg in, meeting both knees in towards the chest, finding our knees to chest here. Lengthening down through the spine, down the tailbone, drawing the knees in. As you're ready, set your feet down to the floor, and we're gonna rock onto our side and then come into onto our tummies. So lying down on in our prone position, let us begin in crocodile with the tops of the hands resting right in front of us, stacked, and the elbows out wide. Drawing the feet maybe about hip distance apart. And as we take a moment here to notice the body from the front side, notice the tops of the feet, maybe notice the different connection of the body down towards the earth, the quadriceps, the knees, the pelvic region, the pubic bone, the belly, the upper chest. See if you can notice your breath coming in and expanding through the belly. And drawing away from the earth on your exhale. Notice how that in itself allows us to dip down a little heavier and towards the earth. And maybe just for a brief moment here, take a moment to notice if there's anything you need to let go of. Maybe an emotion that's not serving you. And I want you to imagine that as you exhale, that breath is releasing that thought. Releasing that feeling. And as you release it, it soaks it up and it takes it away. Even if it's just for a brief moment, allow yourself that opportunity to completely release it. And it may be simply a word that we use that's not a necessary, a positive description of ourselves, that ego that's always there, kind of erring on the side of negativity. It's kind of human nature. We're physiologically built to err on the side of negativity rather than positivity. Although it's not reversible, so it takes work to change that wording in the mind. Or maybe there's an emotion that's been nagging at you that you need to let go of. Maybe a thought, an interaction with someone that you love or take or care for that didn't quite go so great. Maybe you just want to connect down to the earth and just notice the body connecting down. And then as you're ready, let us go ahead and release our hands and set them to the side as we prepare to go into our locust pose. Now, if you want to, you can set your third eye down towards the floor. And I'd like to just connect my tops of my feet down and maybe zip up through my inner thighs here. And as you're ready, we're going to just gently roll the shoulder blades back. On our inhale, we're going to start to lift our upper body, keeping the pubic bone connected down to the earth and zipping down up in through our inner thighs and engaging through the glutes. And then slowly on your exhale, come down to the earth. Let your body feel nice and heavy here. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower down. One more time. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower down. Wonderful. Resting your forehead down onto the floor. We're going to do that exact same movement, and we're going to go on to and lift and lower the legs only. So beginning first with a single leg lift. So inhale to lift your right leg up. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift your left leg up. Exhale to lower, letting the tops of the legs, the front of the legs, rest down towards the earth and just alternate sides here. Connecting down to the earth. Really subtle movement here. We're not going into too much extension in the low back. You may feel a little bit, so just notice where you're engaging. Try to keep those glutes turned on. Abs are turned in. Wonderful. And you can continue with the single leg reach if you want to, or we can move into a double leg locust pose, just the legs only. So inhale, lift both legs. Maybe you feel the pubic bone resting down towards the earth a little bit more. And then exhale, bring the legs back down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Wonderful. And last one. And lower. Fantastic. Wonderful. And go ahead and let your body feel nice and heavy here. Release the shoulders down. And whenever you're ready, we can slowly bring our hands so that they're about shoulder height. And we're going to go ahead and press ourselves back, finding ourselves in Balasana, in our child's pose. Big toes together, knees are wide. Now we can do this in extended child's pose, and or we can go into a shorter stance child's pose, whatever feels good. And you can always use your block to raise the floor. So if you're feeling like your hips are kind of struggling to come down, go ahead and use a block to rest underneath your forehead. That's just going to allow you to raise the earth to meet your body where it's at, to allow you to just truly connect down. So as you're in Balasana here, let us take a moment here to notice the connection of the earth here. Noticing the palms of the hands, noticing the back of the arms, the knees, the tops of the feet, just different areas. Third eye, the Asana chakra, that third eye area between the eyebrows, connecting down. And see if as you're breathing in here, you can start to really connect down and allow your body to release. If you've ever been on a really soft pillow, a soft bed, I should say, and you lie down, you can kind of feel like there's a sense of the bed kind of encapsulating your body. Here, I want you to imagine that the earth is encapsulating you. It's like it's giving you a hug, sending you the nourishment that you need, that sense of support and security. Maybe you take a moment here to remind yourself of your mantra.
I am grounded. I am loved. I am enough. And then at your own perfect pace, we're going to shift our weight and we're going to come into all fours. And you'll notice that most yoga practices that you may have done always come to this space. And it's such a wonderful way to just connect in, to really invite the sense of presence in our practice. So as we're here, let us take today this moment to notice all that connection of the palms of the hands to the floor. And that might seem like really noticing the pads of the fingertips, the heels of the hands, noticing the knees underneath the hips, the tops of the feet resting down onto the floor. Energize through the hands as you support the shoulders here. And take a moment here to maybe notice your spine, maybe noticing how long the spine is. You move your upper body.
Sharon, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my AirPods just died. I'm sorry. And I went to my computer. I'm here now. I'm sorry. So let me repeat that last little set. So when we move in to cat-cow, which we do in most of our yoga practices, it is such a nice way to really move through that Merudanda, through the spine. And as you're moving through your cat-cows here, I want you just to notice the articulation of each of the vertebrae. Maybe you can even think of each of the different areas of the spine. You probably don't know all of the chakras by heart, but perhaps just noticing how they run along the spine here, how it is really the central axis of everything that we do, whether it's in your yoga practice or your daily life. Wonderful. And then as you're ready, let us make our way back into our tabletop position, and we're going to move into downward facing dog. Curl our toes under, and we're going to lift our hips up towards the sky. Taking a moment to just ground it through the ball of the feet, drawing through the heel, anchoring through the hands. And then from here, we're going to slowly walk our hands towards our feet. Making our way into our forward fold. Now from here, I want you just to anchor in through both of the feet and start to press in through the feet, through the ball of the feet and through the heel, and start to roll yourself up vertebrae by vertebrae. Thinking about that tailbone, starting there and then rolling yourself up one vertebrae at a time sequentially. And as you make your way up into that standing position, we're going to move right into Tadasana. Now, this is an important pose for grounding because it really invites the earth towards our feet, which is something we do every day. So every day we're moving our bodies,
we start from the feet up. So from here, extend the arms out wide. And I just want you to notice that connection with the feet beneath you. So whenever we're in a position where we're feeling a little ungrounded, simply taking a moment to stand is a wonderful way to connect into the earth. And you can do this also by lifting your toes and feeling that 4-point connection between the ball of the feet and the heels. Energize through the arms and open up and lift up through that central axis point here. So reaching through the crown and grounding down through the feet. If your toes are lifted, go ahead and let them rest down on the floor, maybe one toe at a time. And just take a moment here. This is something we probably don't do enough in our day. Just taking a moment to stand still and to connect down. As you're ready, let us take an inhale. Press your feet into the floor, extend the arms up overhead. As you exhale, anchor into your feet, lead with your heart all the way into a forward fold. Let your head hang. Walk your hands out, bend your knees, rest your knees down to the floor. Bring your big toes together, your knees wide, press back into child's pose. As you're ready, shift your weight forward. Let us bring our sits bones to the ground and let us make our way into Sukhasana. Sukhasana is our crisscross, our easy seated pose. And everything that we do in yoga is actually done with this idea of training the body to sit for long periods of time. So the original idea when we started, when yoga was created so many years ago, was really, the asana portion was really to train the body to sit for long periods of time. So as you sit in Sukhasana here, take a moment to notice your sits bones. Take a moment to notice your spine. Take a moment to maybe feel the different senses. Sense of touch, sense of sound, sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of sight. Different things that really tune in with our body. Maybe noticing the sense of solid space that we hold from within. From here, let us take a deep breath in and sweep our arms all the way up, breathing in. Palms pressed together and meet at our hands, at heart center. Let us all together, let's repeat 3 times our grounding mantra. And let's say it, if we feel comfortable outside, you can let it out, or you can repeat it silently to yourself. I am grounded, I am loved, and I am enough. I am grounded, I am loved, and I am enough. I am grounded, I am loved, and I am enough. And with that, let us bow our head towards our hands. Let us remind ourselves that we are worth all the sense of abundance of anything that the universe wants to offer us. We are worth it. We are deserving of it. May your heart always stay warm, and may your smile always stay broad. And may the light that shines in me honor the light that shines in you. Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for attending today's workshop. I know we had a lot of information, there was a lot of sitting. I appreciate your effort, and I hope that ultimately you got out, camera's really low, got out a little tidbit of something that you could take with you beyond the mat. Again, all these resources are going to be sent to you at some point today. I'm going to upload it up and get it up to you. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please, I'm always open to it all. And I encourage you to, I don't know, start your day off grounded with your feet on the earth. Thank you both for coming.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
You are welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad we got to do this together today. I know the yoga practice was a little short, but a little bit of something is better than nothing, so I'll take it.
Just fabulous, Sharon. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You are so welcome, ladies. I love being with you, and I love that you are in this world with me. So thank you so much that we are all together. And I wish you a wonderful remainder of your day, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you much. Bye-bye. Bye,
Thank
Pam.
you. Bye-bye.